You're standing in front of the mirror. Maybe it's morning. Maybe you're getting ready for work. And somewhere in the back of your mind, there's this question: am I aging faster than I should be? It's a question scientists have been trying to answer for decades. Not how old you are in years, but how old your cells actually are, your biological age. And in May of 2025, a team from Harvard published something that got the entire research community talking. A simple supplement and a finding nobody expected. The study followed over 1,000 people for 4 years. Half took vitamin D, half took a placebo, and when researchers measured the tiny caps at the ends of their DNA, the telomeres, something remarkable showed up. The people taking vitamin D lost significantly fewer DNA base pairs, 140 fewer on average. Over 4 years, that translated to something extraordinary. The equivalent of nearly 3 years of biological aging. 3 years. From a vitamin that costs about 10 cents a day. But before we get into the details of what they found and what it might mean for you, we need to talk about telomeres, because understanding them changes everything. Think of your DNA as a shoelace, and telomeres are the plastic caps on the ends, the aglets that keep the whole thing from unraveling. Every time a cell divides, those caps get a little shorter. When telomeres get too short, the cell can no longer divide properly. It either dies, or worse, it becomes dysfunctional. Scientists call these senescent cells, zombie cells essentially. They stop doing their job, they start releasing inflammatory signals, and they accumulate as we age, contributing to everything from wrinkled skin to chronic disease. So telomere length has become one of the most studied markers of biological aging. Shorter telomeres are linked to higher risk of heart disease, diabetes, cognitive decline, even earlier death. The thing is, for years, researchers saw a correlation between vitamin D levels and telomere length. People with higher vitamin D tended to have longer telomeres, but correlation isn't causation. Maybe people with better vitamin D status just live healthier lives overall. Maybe they spend more time outdoors, exercise more, eat better. You couldn't prove the vitamin itself was doing anything. Until now. The Vitchell trial was a randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled study, the gold standard in medical research. They enrolled over 25,000 participants starting in 2010. For this telomere analysis, they followed 1,054 people over 4 years, checking their telomere length at the start, at year 2, and at year 4. Half received 2,000 IU of vitamin D3 daily. Half received a placebo. Neither the participants nor the researchers knew who was getting what until the data was analyzed. And the results were striking. Over 4 years, the vitamin D group lost an average of 140 fewer base pairs of telomeric DNA compared to placebo. To put that in perspective, based on previous research linking telomere length to biological aging, that's equivalent to slowing aging by nearly 3 years. This is the first large-scale, long-term randomized trial to show that vitamin D supplements actually protect telomeres and preserve telomere length. The researchers put it plainly. These findings suggest that targeted vitamin D supplementation may be a promising strategy to counter a biological aging process. Now, you might be wondering, how exactly does a vitamin protect something as fundamental as your DNA? The researchers have some theories. Vitamin D appears to upregulate telomerase. That's the enzyme responsible for actually lengthening telomeres. When telomerase is more active, telomere shortening slows down. Vitamin D also has well-documented anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. Since chronic inflammation and oxidative stress both accelerate telomere shortening, protecting against them may preserve telomere length. Here's something interesting though. The Vitchell trial also tested omega-3 fatty acid supplements. You know, fish oil. The thing that's been marketed for heart health for years. The omega-3 group showed no significant telomere protection. Only vitamin D demonstrated this effect. That specificity makes the finding even more compelling. It's not like any supplement protects telomeres. There's something specific about vitamin D that seems to matter here. And that raises a question. A big one. An estimated 42% of American adults are vitamin D deficient. That's nearly half the population walking around with suboptimal levels. We spend most of our lives indoors. We wear sunscreen when we go out, which blocks vitamin D synthesis, and as we age, our skin becomes less efficient at making it from sunlight. And here's the thing. Vitamin D deficiency often has no obvious symptoms. You don't feel deficient, you just quietly accumulate the consequences over years and decades. The Vichtal trial participants were aged 50 and older. This is exactly the population where cellular aging starts accelerating and where intervention might matter most. Now, and I want to be really clear about this, this study doesn't mean vitamin D will make you live longer. We don't know that yet. Telomere length is a marker of biological aging, but it's just one marker. Some researchers point out that 140 base pairs, while statistically significant, is a relatively small change. The clinical implications, what this actually means for disease risk or lifespan, aren't clear yet. What we have is promising evidence, compelling evidence, but not proof that vitamin D will add years to your life. The honest answer is, we need longer follow-up studies. So what should you actually do with this information? First thing, consider asking your doctor to check your vitamin D levels. It's a simple blood test. Many people discover they're deficient without ever suspecting it, and if you are, your doctor can help you figure out the right supplementation strategy for your specific situation. If you and your doctor decide supplementation makes sense, 2,000 IU daily of vitamin D3 is the dose used in the Vichtal trial. That's a reasonable evidence-based starting point. Here's a practical tip. Take vitamin D with a meal that contains some fat. It's a fat-soluble vitamin, meaning your body absorbs it much better when there's fat present. You might also consider moderate sun exposure when possible, about 10 to 15 minutes of direct sunlight on your skin. Your body naturally synthesizes vitamin D from sunlight. But, and this is important, more is not necessarily better when it comes to vitamin D. Very high doses can actually be harmful. Vitamin D toxicity is a real concern at excessive levels. The National Institutes of Health set the upper tolerable limit at 4,000 IU daily for most adults. The Vichtal trial's 2,000 IU dose sits comfortably within safe ranges. Think of vitamin D as one piece of a larger longevity puzzle. It works best alongside good sleep, regular physical activity, stress management, and solid nutrition. And here's something worth thinking about. The participants in this study didn't know they were in the vitamin D group. They weren't doing anything else differently. They just took a small capsule every day. That's the power of a well-designed trial. It strips away all the confounding factors. The only variable that differed between groups was whether they got vitamin D or a placebo. The trial was double-blind, meaning even the researchers didn't know who got what until the data was unsealed. This eliminates bias in how participants were treated or observed. So when we see a 140 base pair difference in telomere shortening, that's not because vitamin D takers exercised more or ate better or had better healthcare access. That's the vitamin D. Now, individual responses will vary. Some people might see more benefit, some might see less. Genetics, baseline vitamin D status, and overall health all play roles. Your mileage, as they say, may vary. That's exactly why you should have this conversation with your doctor rather than just starting supplements on your own. They can help personalize the approach based on your blood levels and health history. And if you're someone who's been skeptical of supplements, I get it. The industry is full of overpromising and under-delivering. This is different. This isn't a company-funded study trying to sell you something. This is Harvard. This is the National Institutes of Health. This is the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, the gold standard. The Vichtal trial originally enrolled nearly 26,000 participants, making it one of the largest vitamin D studies ever conducted. The telomere analysis represents a carefully selected subset of that larger trial. The researchers tracked participants from 2010 through 2018. That's 8 years of careful data collection. The telomere measurements came at baseline, year 2 and year 4. And here's something that gives this study real credibility. The results were published in May 2025, not decades ago. This is fresh, peer-reviewed science. The journal, the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, is one of the most respected publications in nutrition science. Getting through their peer review process is no small feat. So where does this leave us? We have strong evidence from a well-designed trial that vitamin D at modest, safe doses may slow a fundamental process of cellular aging. If you found this information valuable, and if you want more science-backed insights into health and longevity, consider hitting that subscribe button. We cover research like this every week. But remember, vitamin D isn't magic. It's one piece of evidence suggesting one way we might support our cells as we age. The science of aging is complex, and we're still learning. What we're not saying is that vitamin D will definitely make you live longer. What we're saying is that the evidence is pointing somewhere interesting, and it's worth paying attention. Talk to your doctor. Get your levels checked, and if supplementation makes sense for you, consider the 2000 IU daily dose that showed these protective effects. Your grandmother probably didn't know about telomeres. She probably never heard the word epigenetics. But she knew that getting some sunshine and taking care of yourself mattered. Sometimes the science catches up to what people have always sensed. Vitamin D, the sunshine vitamin, might be doing more for us than we ever realized. This is Better Health Faster. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Remember, this content is for informational purposes only and is consult your doctor.